Hello everybody, and welcome back to the last video in the How to Position as a Support series. So, we're not going to be doing Timbermill because, again, just like, here, let me summarize Timbermill. Stay on the high grounds. There you go, you know how to position on Timbermill. And also because it's getting reworked next patch, and it's going to be a bit different. But yeah, just stay on the high grounds for Timbermill. For Warder's Gate, which is the last map in the series. So this one's more interesting, right? It's got the same Shattered Desert effect, where both sides are basically the same, except one of them has this crystal. Do not touch the crystals. Here's why you don't touch the crystals. If you touch them, you no longer start. You don't keep rising up anymore. You just sink. You hit them and you just sink. You also cannot use any movement abilities inside them. Sora is a bit different because it keeps you up, but like if you use Ash Dash, like let's say I was Ash, right, and I press F right here, I would sink straight down. So do not touch these things. They are deaf. Also, you notice how they like go up and down? There is a hip, you notice how it just went down? There's still a hitbox there. So you cannot actually shoot through where they were. The crystal itself is like, the hip, like, you know? Okay, well it's a bit more difficult to see the bottom side, but you get the idea. Do not mess with these things. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, they are useful, and I should have stayed on mount, but let's go over which side you should go. You don't get to decide which side you should go. You get to see which side your team goes, and then you get to follow. So if your team's going left, here, let me show you how to mount properly on this map because it's pretty cool. Oh, the environment's OP, dude. 1800 DPS. It's crazy. It's funny how they got like a thing for the environment, but not a thing for Corvus icon. Okay, like Corvus Alt. If you ever press Y after Corvus Alt, it'll show Corvus Alt Subdevice or something dumb like that. So, mounting on this map. So if you're going out the left side, you want to go out the left side. Big brain. And then what you want to do, let's say your team's going left, you want to take a sharp left, and you want to do this. From here, you're invisible to the other team, no matter where they go, but you can see if the other team is taking the top left tunnel. And then you can make a decision on where to go. Let's talk about how to use the crystals. In general, most people just do this, right? And slowly float down. There's a few different things you can do with the crystals. So the first thing is go around this rock, and you can like just barely catch them and go beneath. I didn't do that super cleanly. Let me try again. So, I don't know, something like that, right? And you can end up below and sort of ride up below the other team if that's really what you want. The other cool thing, it's not useful, but it's a cool thing you can do. If you go on the left side of the crystal, you can land up here. This isn't useful at all, but it's kind of funny sometimes. Just have like a Grover up here, just like shooting down axes. So that's a thing you can do. Again, do not touch them at the cost of death. It's probably like a quicker way to get back on high ground if you don't want to take it all the way up, but I haven't messed around with that too much, so. And the walls will bounce you. Again, just don't mess with the crystals. If you want to go right side, go like this. Okay, so you have two options really. You can either jump over, right, and go all the way around, or you can just like hug the right hand wall. And the reason that you do this is because there is a gimmicky strat. So I showed you like the dismount spot, right? Like if this is a common map for Genos. If you're playing like a Genos or Corvus or something, and if you mount here and you see the other team, you can actually dismount and shoot them and like get them off their mounts. And if you happen to catch them while they are jumping like this, sometimes you'll dismount them over the pit and they'll fall, which is really funny when it happens. So if you get a chance to do that, then that's always pretty cool. So yeah, this map is like, the mid fight is pretty straightforward, but there are different ways to play each side that make it a little bit more interesting. So, if you want to take the left side here, again, do not touch the crystals. You have two options, right? You can either try to play like this sort of corner, right, and just like dance with the crystals and just sort of like do this, so you have the LOS on mid-fight. It takes some practice. You have to be very careful, because again, if you just stay in the crystal... Here, I'll show it. If you just stay in the crystal... Okay. I guess if you just walk into it, you stay up? No, okay, so yeah, it won't keep you in the air forever, basically. And if you use movement ability, like, just don't mess with the crystals. Don't... You should never rely on the crystal to keep you alive, basically. Like, the crystal... You should never count on the crystal to push you back up from the pit, because chances are it won't. Like, just do not mess with these things. The reason that you'd play on the crystal like that and use the ground as instead of like this room is because this is really scary, right? Like, there's a tank here. The other team probably has people in that room over there. This is a really scary angle, and this lets you like watch for flanks a bit more. The option that I prefer is actually playing over here. This is a bit spookier, but there is this railing, right? So you can always kind of choose your engagements with DPS. You can like back down here. You can back into the room. You can back into this corner if you really want to. So I like playing up front here. Again, if your team has made the space, remember, like, your team's positioning is the most important factor. Like, these are just options. Like, if your team hasn't pushed forward, then yeah, maybe you want to like play the crystal and just sort of like do this, right? Up to you. But yeah, don't stick in the room. It's scary. Try to play over here, maybe. I would stick out of main because it's really easy to get flanked from here, right? People can see you from there, force you back into these rocks. Like, playing back here is like fine. But again, you can use the crystal. So that's kind of up to you. Again, this map is sort of like Shattered Desert, where the most important bit of how to position is where your team goes, and the map's just symmetrical. Okay, so that's how to position on the right side, right? You want to stay out of the room because it's really spooky. So you can either push through here and sort of get this angle, or you can play on the crystal, or you can play like around the crystal and this rock back here. Again, this is really scary. If you have like a DPS in main, then just like playing around this rock and the crystals back here is probably your best bet. If you want to go on the right side, it's almost the same thing. It's almost the same thing. This is a bit easier to play from because the good part is on your side of the map, so you have like this whole stairs to play with. It's a bit easier for you, a bit less aggressive, but you know, it's fine. That's really it. Again, try to stick out of the room. This is a really scary angle because, like, again, their entire team might be here and you don't know it, so that's spooky. But generally, yeah, it's just gonna be back here. You can play with this room here and like back out into this corner, and that's really hard for them to push. So again, as long as you're sticking out of main, try to avoid like going towards point or like, you know, going below point. I wouldn't play here. They can shoot you. Yeah, it's probably easier to show from outside. They can shoot you through the little gap in the railing, so try to avoid that spot. It's also really spooky if someone ever peeks at this angle or at this angle. So again, just stay out of main. If your team isn't controlling the side, then way back in the middle is probably your best way to go. So yeah, just follow the sides, use cover, save your team, blah blah blah. Fun fact about this map: let's say there's an annoying sniper like way back there, and it's on your job. It's on you to cap point. You can cap point from here. All right, I'm not actually in the circle, right? But the circle is actually a square. The hitbox is a square, so you can cap point, and you cannot get shot from mid. I think it works on the other side. It works for every corner. For the defense, this push is interesting, right? So the first fight is probably gonna happen when the card's like in this sort of U-shaped area, and that's tough. There's, again, main is bad, right? No main. Get out of main. So you're probably gonna be playing like there's essentially 3 options, right? There's this corner, which is spooky because you can be flanked and it's rough to back up. You can play in here, which is really safe, but you have a really limited field of view. Or you can play this angle, which again, more aggressive, you can get more done, but it's really risky to be in flank, especially if someone comes off the crystal. They can land on top of these hedges and they're just like, oh hello there. So I try to avoid that. Usually it depends on how aggressive your team is going, is being. You can always play in this room if you want. Again, like, the choke is pretty much like this line, right? That's not a really straight line, but like you get the idea. So as long as you're playing around cover around that line, then you're probably good. Like if your team pushes up right side and like they're pushing through this door, then yeah, you can like follow them and take this sort of angle. And this is cute, but like most of the time, you're gonna be playing in the tunnel. Again, this is technically not in main, but it's very close to it. So I'd be very careful about doing that. So you're probably gonna be in the tunnel. If your team pushes up right side, follow them right side, play around the walls, all that fun stuff. If you're holding the last choke, there's not too much to say. This is the wrong spawn. You know, you're just gonna hold spawn doors, use the cover, play back near the spawn doors. I like to play on, depends what kind of comp they have. If they have like snipers, I like to play on the left side because it's a bit harder for them to shoot me. And if they have a lot of flanks, then I like to play on the right side because then I can, you know, they're probably gonna try to get an off angle, and I can just shoot from up here, and there's not really as much long range stuff that's gonna contest me. On the push. So this one's pretty straightforward compared to the defense, where it's just like, it's not good for you. You see how there's a hitbox there? Oh god, I almost died to it. Like I couldn't walk over it even though there was nothing there, so fun stuff. If you are pushing, you're going to be following the cart, and the cart's going to get up to here, and again, like, there's not too much you can do on this particular part of the map. Like, you're just going to follow the cart, you're going to be playing this door. Again, the fight's going to happen sometime here, and then you're going to be, there's pretty much three options, right? You're like this corner, you can play back here, or you can play like near this rock, I guess, or you can play like back here, but like, again, like there's 4 walls, right? There's 4 things, so just pick one of them to play from. If you're rear approaching, this can be a really good spot for some DPS, because like, you know, you got this corner and you can always back out really safely, so kind of up to you. But again, just follow the cart, and use cover. That's really it. Just be careful of people in tunnels. Once you get up to the last choke, it's probably going to be holding main. Like, there's no real reason for you to push out super hard. Like, you can go top right, but then it's like, remember on Frozen Guard where I said don't push mines? Like, this is the exact same sort of situation as Frozen Guard, where it's like a small doorway that leads into their base. You generally don't want to, you know, be peeking things through a small door. It makes it really easy to get spammed out, so you probably don't want to be up here. You can be up here if your team's pushing really aggressively, but like, that's, you know, situational. You can push right side, but again, very risky. It's okay if like you're a Genos and you have like a DPS with you, because then, you know, you can heal from walls. It's a cool off angle, right? And you can, like, if you play this corner all the way back here, this is super risky, but you can like completely LOS their high ground. So it's a spot, but keep in mind that you won't really heal main or top left. So I mean, there's not too much to it than just stick in main. Don't wide peek. Use the corners. Like, you can back up into the tunnels if you need to, or you can back up over here. Like, this is also fine. Again, just sort of depends where your team's going. So that's really it. All right. So recap. If you want to push around, if your team's pushing left, either play on the crystal or play this sort of area up here if your team's pushing more aggressively. If your team goes right, you're probably just going to stay back here. Right. Free LOS on cart. These leaves don't have hitboxes, so don't be afraid to like try to heal through them or anything. The tree does have a hitbox. Try to avoid pushing into these rooms, and try to avoid being in mid. Unless your team has no control of any of the sides, in which case main is fine. On the push, or on the defense rather, you're probably going to be playing in the tunnels or around this sort of area. And if your team pushes out the right side really hard, then that's fine. You can follow them. And then on the defense, just hold spawn. There's no reason to be anywhere else. Like, you could hold up here, sure, this is probably fine, but again, it's really spooky. And high ground is infinitely safer. If you are pushing, you're kind of just following the cart, right? So follow cart, play the corners. They're getting to last choke. If your team makes an aggressive play, follow them. Otherwise, you're probably just going to be in mid. It's going to be kind of situationally dependent. Like, playing here with Grover might be okay. So you can either stick here. If Grover, this is fine. If you are something like a Genos, then taking more of an off angle is good. But realistically, that's just situational. So kind of kind of up to you. Just keep in mind there's like 3 sides, right? And if your team pushes one of them, that's where you want to be. Yeah, so these last few maps have kind of sucked. Like, Shattered and Borders aren't very interesting, but hope you guys enjoyed. That's going to be it for the series, so hope it helped some people, so I will see you guys later, maybe. Hope everyone enjoyed and got something out of this. It was fun to make, so bye-bye.